Hey, Raindrops. Yes. So for the Love and Marriage Huntsville recap, I am joined by one of the stars of the show. She is an OG. Everyone, let me tell you something. I don't know anybody who dislikes Kimmi. There's not one person. There's literally isn't one person that dislikes you. It's always like, we mess with Kimmi. Like, people just love Kimmi. I like to call her Kimberly. It's funny, of all my cast members I've ever worked with, she is top 5 of the ones I'm afraid of.
Don't be afraid.
I always tell her that. I'll be like, whatever Kimmi wants, she gonna get from each other. I don't know. No problems. But join me and welcome me, Kimberly Grant Scott.
Everybody, what's going on, Carlos King?
How are you? You look, first of all, I always say this to her. You look gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm blessed. I am truly, truly, truly blessed.
What is going on with you right now? So congratulations, because we saw you ring the bell. So round of applause for that. Explain to people who may not know the importance of what it means, the significance too, ringing the bell when you're going through a cancer journey.
So along the way, the bell has come up in regards to the journey to celebrating getting through the actual journey, because there's so many who may not get to the end of that actual journey. So to make it is a celebration of sort. And so different people have to go through different phases. I had 3 phases that I was supposed to finish, which was the chemo, the surgery, and the radiation. So typically you ring the bell after everything is done. However, because it was such an overwhelming thing for me, I rang a bell every time, every leg of the race, I was ringing bells. If they had a bell present, I was ringing bells. So I rang a bell on December the 5th when I finished my last treatment for chemo. I rang a bell on December the 20th when I had surgery, and I rang a bell on April the 13th with my last radiation treatment.
And I don't want to put words into your mouth, but in the first episode, you mentioned that they can't find the cancer cells, or the cancer cells are low. Can you explain to us what that means?
So there were 2 moments of absolute euphoria for us. And a lot of it is done with the testing. And so we went to all the chemo treatments, and after all the treatments were done, they do a PET scan. And a PET scan is specifically geared toward looking for cancer cells. They give you this radioactive sugar in your body, and the cancer cells are attracted to that sugar because it moves fast. And so when they did the PET scan after all the chemo, they said that they couldn't find anything, like nothing. It's radioactive, so it literally is supposed to light up if they see anything anywhere. And they said they didn't. The radiologist thought I had actually had surgery already because nothing lit up. And so everybody was excited. Everybody was excited. I had surgery on the 20th. And in conjunction with surgery, they do another biopsy about the tissue that is around the area. So they did another biopsy. And when they did that biopsy, it also came back with 0 cells found. And so when we went back to the doctor, he said it's called complete pathological resolution. And he was really excited. He was like, isn't that great? And I was like, it's wonderful. I said, well, why are you excited? Wasn't that the goal? Like, isn't that why I did all of that chemo? And he said, it is the goal, but very few people reach it.
Yeah.
So I am blessed beyond measure. Like, nobody takes it lightly when I say God's girl around here, like, because it is what it is. At the end of the day, he's been taking care of me for little shit. So I had no doubt that he was going to surround me in this particular moment.
So is it safe to, again, I don't want to, go too far with it, but is it safe to say you're cancer free?
It's safe to say that I am cancer free and I am blessed. However,
Okay.
No, I gotta put the however. I gotta put
Okay.
the however because it's a fact of nature. We are in the realm. Like I don't want to be a prisoner to it can come back. Like I don't want the
Yeah.
mindset. But in this arena, that is a possibility with the type of breast cancer that I had. You have like a 5-year window where there is a potential that it could return. We're not claiming that.
No.
So we're not claiming that whatsoever. So this moment in my skin, I am blessed and cancer free.
No, listen, I'm not gonna cry because I know I can cry. Y'all see it.
We
I'm
both be on here crying, man. We both crying.
Lord knows I'd be like, oh gosh. But I am so happy for you. Listen, I have prayed for you endlessly. The world has prayed for you
Absolutely.
endlessly.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I loved about you sharing your story is when you talked about um, a woman. I think you contacted the hospital to get something done in terms of your journey, and she said, "We are overbooked because some
Right.
reality star
Right.
talked about having breast cancer, and now every woman is getting a mammogram." And it goes to show me, because one of my prayers every single night for the many years I've been alive is, God, please use me to be of good service to the world.
Right.
And one of the things that, as we saw this journey, anybody would say this, right? I would too. I remember you saying and seeing like, okay, God, why me?
Mhm.
Like me, I think I'm a good person. Like, what? Why do I have to be burdened with this? That's anybody's first initial response to it. And to see your journey of optimism, the fact that you are a nurse, right? Like you're in the medical field and you are still able to allow your faith to see you through, and you are the complete manifestation of a woman who goes through an illness and says, I'm not going to have a pity party. It's not going to be woe is me. Let's get this done. Let's activate. And in the interim, let me make sure that I stay positive and look at the result is now. So all praise, obviously, to
Yes.
God, but
Yes.
to you as well, because you did the homework, you did the work, and you never allowed your faith to waver.
Never. Can't. Can't. He been taking care of me too long. Like that's just crazy. Like, and for people who doubt, you just can't. One lady one time, because I've gotten many quotes over this period, and a lady emailed me, I believe, and she said, "Give it to God and don't take it back." And that was one of the best things I've ever heard in my life, because even though I feel like I'm covered, there are always times when you still worry, you just worry for a minute. And I remember, and I wish I could shout her out. Like, I hope she hear me and say, I said it, because I don't remember who told it to me, but she said, give it to God and don't take it back. And that's what you have to do. It is literally what you have to do. And it gives you a different sense of peace in order to move on.
Yes, yes, it does. And again, I don't think you may even realize this because you're so humble. You are like the first reality star in the world to go through this publicly. And I remember talking to a friend of mine who's a journalist, and this is before the world knew about your diagnosis, because obviously I knew because we're filming, and obviously I'm not telling anybody, not even my African. But I made sure to just keep that to myself too. But I remember having a conversation with someone, and she said, don't you think it's weird that there's not one housewife or one reality star that went through a breast cancer diagnosis, depending on when you think about the statistics, isn't
Mhm.
that strange? And she said, and this is her, she said, I believe women on these shows may have gone through it and chose not to disclose it.
Absolutely.
And that's why for me, I will always give you your props. I have unfortunately used a cuss word when I told people, get the F off the show if you're not going to be real, because what Kimmi is going through and sitting on that reunion stage for 12 hours, and I got folks telling me, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. I said, y'all can go home, because Kimmi has displayed the true testament of I signed up for something. I, of course, thought about not going through with it, but I did sign up. I can change lives. And you are changing lives. What advice would you give women who are going through this? What words of encouragement can you offer?
First and foremost, you got to stay prayed up. Like, I believe at the end of the day, a lot of getting through this journey is a mindset. It is a true mindset. I have a couple of friends that I communicate with that have had different kind of cancers in the past and that kind of thing. And we had talked about recently, medications and that kind of thing. And I opted not for antidepressants and pain medicines and those things because I felt like it's such an easy space to go left with that. Because it's a mind thing. And sometimes you lay there and you lay in your sadness, you know? And so you need to surround yourself with people that will keep you out of that hole. 100% out of that hole. I think my mind physically was more important than my body. Even in going through the chemo and going through that toxin in your body, my hands literally turned dark as Marceau in them, like your hands, the different things yes, absolutely. And he told me that they would. Wow. So my hands, of course, I lost my hair, so it's very traumatic for the mind. And I think to surround yourself with people who love you and care about you and uplift you is amazingly important. And when the fans would reach out to me and I would have interviews and I would tell them, I don't think they realized how important they were, because there were some days when maybe I wasn't as bubbly and somebody sent me a sweatshirt or a card or, some oil for my fingers or my hair. It was so appreciated. It was so appreciated and needed. And people that email me, I tell them that. Reach out if they, like the caregiver that says, well, I'm not sure. She says, don't do this. I said, we all gonna say that. Do it. Just do it. Just be there for her. You know what I'm saying? Give her a little cookie, give her a little rub, give her a little oil, give her some candles. Be there 100%, 100% present. 100% present is what we needed.
Amen to that. So congratulations. We're going to celebrate more and more. And I just thank you so much for continuing to do the show, because I know how difficult it was. Speaking of the show, you are an OG. Tonight we celebrated our official 100th episode. As a little Black girl in Baltimore, and I really want to know this, did you ever in your mind think that you would be on TV for 6 years on the #1 show that was created by Oprah Winfrey? Like, did you ever in your mind have aspirations of being famous, being on television? Like, was that ever a part of your mind where your life is right now?
No, I that wasn't any of my aspirations. 6 years or 6 minutes being on TV. No. I literally, when I was a kid in Baltimore, I wanted to be an attorney. Like, I wanted to be an attorney. I was a talker. And so most of my family thought that I would be an attorney. And that's where my mindset was. I wanted to be like in corporate America. I wanted to, have my suit, walk down the street and people know who that bitch was. Because I was winning, you know what I'm saying? So I always wanted people to know me for what I brought to the table. But TV was never a part of that. This has been a whirlwind affair. It literally has. And it was something that is a gold mine. And we're just appreciative that we were in the presence of Melody, you, and to be fair, y'all just loved us when you interviewed us. Don't act like Winnie has to interview. Right. So when y'all be telling these stories, y'all don't act like y'all don't tell the part about all the people y'all interviewed before you got to us. So let's go ahead and say we had to I'm just saying, yes. We had to interview. And that's true. Even nobody talks about that part. So there were people before us that interviewed, and apparently they didn't make it.
First of all, Like I see why I love Kimmy, and I'd be like, child, Kimmy could read me all day long. You are absolutely right. That is the story. So no, this is the beauty of me talking to the cast. And I want this season of the show, I wanted to do it individually. Because I feel like at this point, you guys aren't it's funny. When I say married, I mean in terms of like pairs on TV. I wanted to make sure that I did everybody individually because I wanted to really show the chemistry I have in my cast. And you are right. You are 100% right. And it's funny because when I do tell the story, it's not that I purposely forget to mention that. It's more so of like, you got to do quick sound bites. But let's talk about it now. She is 1000% right. There were other people that we did speak to that I was like,
listen, we're gonna get more specific than that. You have to tell them, because this is what you told us.
Go ahead.
So you have to tell them you interviewed these other people for whatever reason, and you were like, is there anybody else? You got a couple more people. Is there anybody else? You got a couple more. We got to interview, and you loved us. And your words were, why didn't you bring them first? Don't even tell no story. Don't even tell no story.
Yes.
Why didn't you bring them first?
Oh.
So we had to interview. So people discount the fact that we had to play a part in actually, you could have not liked us too.
What's so funny? I'm so happy we're talking about this. It's very true. And the reason why this podcast is a hit is because we get to like talk about the behind the scenes makings of how a TV show works. So the way it works was, everything you're saying, we interviewed people before we met with the Scotts. The Scotts at that time, the 1.0, and then you and Maurice were engaged, planning the wedding. We met some other people, and I was like, no thanks. Is there any more else we can meet with? And then then you guys were brought to us too. And then I remember watching the casting tape because a producer named Angela interviewed everybody. So the way it works, let me explain to the world how a TV show works. So the way it works is I'll have an idea. So when I meet with people during these consultations, I'm always like, okay, I get that, but this is what I'm thinking because, this is my wheelhouse. I know what the networks are looking for. Let's build a show around hot people, successful people in Huntsville. Met some folks. Angela interviewed people. I saw them. I was like, no thanks. Then I'm like, is there anybody else? We need like the whatever. And then I remember receiving the casting tape of you and Maurice. You, first of all, Kimmy's hair. What we say, blonde or blonde?
Kimmi it was an attempted blonde.
I remember this vividly. Kimmi had blonde hair down the hair. And I want to say a pink. Was it pink?
You are 100% correct. It was pink with a black bandeau kind of thing. Yes. You're 100% correct.
Oh, honey, I'm the king of reality TV. I remember, that's why when people try to come for me, that ain't how it works. I'm like, honey, I remember everything. I have the mind of an elephant. And then Maurice wore a blue suit with a yellow tie, and y'all were sitting in y'all kitchen.
You're correct.
And then y'all talked about the comeback group. Maurice said, I got the t-shirt. You want to see it?
And Angela said, yes.
Yes. He goes upstairs, bring out the t-shirt. Yeah. And I remember this. I never said this to you. I remember looking at y'all like, wow, they're beautiful, smart, and successful, and they're firecrackers. I'm like, there's a firecracker there. And then I'll just tell this story now. I'm speaking to Marcel, I think, next week or the week after. We give Marcel and Tisha tape. Tisha was quiet. Tisha didn't say much. Tisha had her hair in a ponytail.
He did.
Marcel did all the talking. No surprise there. Right. I'm gonna tell you what made me scream and say, get these MFers on board too. Marcel said, and I quote, we have roles. If the school calls and says something's wrong with the kid, I'm going to say, hold on, let me get my wife on the phone.
100% accurate. 6 years later, you said it verbatim. 100% accurate.
See? No one can come for me about my memory. That's
100% accurate.
That's what, and I was like, and then I said, hey guys, the show is so you're right. The way it works is people interview for it, and I have final say. No one is on this show that I didn't approve of. I have final say. So it's everything you said. So, and listen, I want people to know, and I believe I said this, but for now I'll say it again. The success of this show is about the six of y'all. It's 100%. Magic. It's magic when you six are together in the room. And that's why Kimmi is the one who coined the term that I love, the core six.
Core six.
Do you agree with that in terms of this show is humongous because of the magic of the six of y'all that really started this franchise?
Absolutely. I think that core six and the premise of the show is what made it humongous. I think people were anxious to see African Americans being successful and building things and doing things for their community. I think they also wanted a little skirmish here and there. And since y'all like to tussle, I think y'all, you put a little bit of that in, and then you got a blockbuster. But I think from day one, all of us have said, one of the biggest things for us, I think it's a double-edged sword, is that we weren't casted. We were actual friends before the TV show. It wasn't that people were just picked up off the street, you're going to be a friend, you're going to be a friend. And to be honest, I think some of that comes into play when we're even storytelling. I think the fact that these people were all friends at one time, I think every now and then you run into a don't cross that wall. Like that's like my real friend. Like, I don't want her to be like, yeah, I can't do that. Somebody off the street, you're a little more quick to be like, bitch, please, I wish you would. You know what I'm saying? But somebody that you legitimately loved in your heart at one point, I think it's a little more difficult. I do. So I think that sometimes is a double-edged sword, but I think that is what makes it spectacular. I absolutely do.
No, it is. And it's funny. So since we're going to talk, Kimmi, let's talk.
Okay.
Kimmi, one thing I love about Kimmi, so prior to us having Love and Marriage Huntsville greenlit, we shot a pilot. I remember being in the kitchen. This is right before we taped the infamous scene in the first episode where all the couples came over Kimmi and Marie's house. They had dinner and they talked about respectful cheating. So that was season 1, episode 1.
Correct.
Prior to that, Kimmi was like, I watch reality TV. I watch it. I know it. And because of that, she understands the assignment. So I'm going someplace with this.
Okay.
So on my other shows, Kimmi will give me advice like, well, on this show, I just don't think they have the chemistry. So Kimmi is so honest that she'll tell me like, I don't know about that one, or this one got better. So Kimmi, are you watching Love and Marriage DC by any chance?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
What do you feel about, okay, so we've had 2 seasons so far. We had a cliffhanger. So the rest of the season is going to air later. What do you think about season 2 versus season 1?
I liked it a lot better. I think it, gained a little momentum a little bit better. I like the interactions. And this is the honest to God truth. First night, the premiere night of second season, everybody should know by now, because like when I screenshot something or send it in our group, somehow it gets on the internet. I don't know how, but me, Tisha, Marcel, and them, we have like a little text group, of course, cast. And so I said to them, I said, y'all better watch this show. Like, it was really good tonight. And they were like, that I'm trying to tell y'all better watch the show. I thought it was really good. So yeah, for Kimmi, I did like season 2 better than season 1 for Kimmi. Yes.
Yes. And I I Carlos King agree with you.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
no, so
absolutely.
I brought that up because that just goes to show you how Kimmy really is a fan of reality television,
Absolutely.
and she knows she's like this could be different, that could be different. So I wanted to know a grade from Kimmy. So thank you, Kimmy. Now
Mhm.
getting back to Huntsville, what we saw in tonight's episode that I love the most
Mhm.
was when you brought Tisha and Melody together. And it's funny because the fans are like, I cannot believe, based on what happened at the reunion with the whole dark soul and all that stuff, that these two women would be in the same room and having a pleasant conversation to the point where they hugged at the end and laughed.
Mhm.
Did you ever think it would get to the point that Tisha and Melody would ever be in a bad place? Because when we first started the show, Tisha and Mel were close. And
Mhm.
you, not to put words in your mouth,
I
but
think
you were kind of like on the outside, like kind of the outside when it comes to just these three couples.
Mhm. 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 I no, I didn't think they would get to a bad place because like you say, they were pretty cool friends. They were good friends. They hung out, they did stuff without me. Like so it wasn't always about the six of us or the three ladies doing stuff. They had commonalities, with their daughters, their kids, and that kind of thing. So they hung out. So I was surprised it got to where it was. There was plenty of times I thought it would get back to normal. Um, After the last time in LA, no, I didn't. I didn't think that it was going to get back. So I want people you have to take the whole story into account. The simple fact that I was able to meet with Tisha and she took the phone, her and Mel talked. She invited Mel to Spa Day and Mel said yes so quickly. That to me opened the door of opportunity. If that didn't happen, I wasn't interested in trying to put them in the same room because we not fighting like that. So I just need people to understand. For me, that was the door of opportunity. So you just got to take it when it's there. Like you got to take it when it's there. And the fact that both of them were so amicable on that call, I was stunned. I was like, okay, so maybe there's something here. And so both of them were open. I mean, I didn't surprise nobody.
Right.
Both of them were open to the conversation and it was meaningful. It was meaningful.
It was. And listen, it goes to the it goes to the chemistry again when you talk about the core six, and obviously this is a reality show and people really are more into the friendships of the women because that's just always the ingredients that makes these shows so different and special. And to see you three in the same room, and we flash back to season one spa day at Mel's house where you and Mel got to a little situation. Are you also surprised in terms of how far you and Mel have even come? Because what we saw in this flashback, and it's funny because when I saw that, I was like, I remember that day. It was so funny to me. And now you two seem to be very close. I know you guys don't talk every single day, but it's one of those things where, like you said earlier, there's a respectful conversation that you guys have always had. Are you also surprised to see where you and Mel are today?
I am because both Melody and I have a tendency to say what we think in the moment that we think it. And oftentimes it just didn't go over very well for either of us. And in the group of us, for whatever reason, whenever we got into it, they would always call me like, Kimmy, you ain't had to say that. Kimmy, you could have said that different. You ain't had to be like that. And it would get frustrating for me that it was like, it's not always me. But at the end of the day, I didn't think Mel cared. Like, I didn't think that Mel cared that we weren't as close as her and Tisha. Like, I didn't think it bothered her. I thought she was like, okay. However, when we finally had a conversation and she said to me that it did bother her, that it did matter, I was like, oh, okay. I'll move differently. But in my head, I thought we were both just we were fine where we were. You know what I mean? So when communication is important, because I simply didn't know that it mattered. It didn't seem like it mattered. So once she told me that it did, then I tried to move differently. And so, yes, I think a lot of me and Mel being where we are is because I think she takes me at face value and I take her at face value at this point. And I think that's helpful because I still don't feel like I can say what I need to. If I think she said something out of order, I'm going to say, I think that was out of order. If I think T said it out of order, and that's what's funny. The fans say, oh, Kimmi flip-flop. And I don't know how you can flip-flop when you just have an opinion of what somebody said. So if it's my friend and I tell her that was out of order, I'm flip-flopping. So I don't really understand how I can't tell my friend, I think that wasn't the best idea. When she put Tisha out, come on, sis, you shouldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then when Tisha did, Tisha, but you shouldn't have said so-and-so. So I don't know. I guess people in their friendships just ride regardless of good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm okay with telling my friend, like, yeah, you shouldn't have done it that way.
No, I listen. A healthy friendship is one where you're able to call each other out when it's necessary based on what just happened. I'm surprised that people think you're a flip-flopper because one of the things that people love about you is you are very direct, straight to the point, and you leave no confusion on the table. You are like, this is how I feel. Make no mistake about it. Right. I hear you, but I need for you to also hear me as well. Like the reason why I know you'll be a great lawyer is because you're very clear and concise with your thoughts, your feelings, and opinions. And that's the reason why you've been able to be in the middle of, these two friends who had issues, and you were always like, I see things at face value. You may be my sister-in-law, but I'm going to call you out if I think you're wrong. Same with Mel. I like you, but I'm going to call you out when you're wrong. And I've always think you've been the fair one in the equation. But going into that, was it difficult for you? Because at the end of the day, you are now related to Tisha.
Yeah.
And one thing you said in tonight's episode that I thought was funny is when you were showing Tisha around the new office space because Marcel kicked her out later. You said, yeah, I spoke to Maurice about it because, when it comes to Tisha, you're his favorite or whatever. Was it difficult when you and Tisha were going through your situation? Because it's not just you're having an issue with a friend. Mm-hmm. You're having an issue with your brothers. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you're having an issue with your husband's sister-in-law who is married to his brother.
His best friend.
and best friend. How difficult was that for you during the times where you guys just weren't at the best place?
Carlos, you already know. You know it was hard. Like in the 6 years we've been here, I don't call you. I don't harass you. I don't do stuff. And in that time frame, that's the only time I pick up the phone because I'm like, listen, this is it's going places. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult for family and friendship area. But I think for me, it was the most difficult because I was surprised. I was literally surprised that we were in that space. And people may say, I don't know why you surprised. You the one who said it. And that may be true. I was surprised that my family and friends have a tendency to say, and they kind of champion, oh, Kimmi will tell you what she thinks. Oh, Kimmi, don't ask Kimmi. If you ask Kimmi, Kimmi gonna tell you the truth. And they champion it until it's your turn. Once it's your turn, all of a sudden it's like, bitch, no. You know what I'm saying? And so I was stunned that we were in the place that we were. I 100% was stunned. And that made it harder for me to wrap my mind around why are we here? Why are we in this space? And so it made it very tough. And so even at the reunion, when you said, would we be friends if we weren't family? And my answer was no. My answer wasn't no because, if I saw her on the street, I wouldn't be friends with her.
Right.
When I met Letitia, I thought Tisha was one of the best things that ever happened. Like we were freaking frack. Like literally, I was saying in that moment that Tisha, I was having trouble connecting with this Tisha. The Tisha that I met was a different Tisha. It just was. That Tisha that I met was a different Tisha. And so it was making it hard for me to evolve with the woman she was evolving to. And it's not to stifle anybody's growth whatsoever. But I was having a harder time wrapping my head around why we were in this space. I really did. I had a very hard time wrapping my head around why we even talked about going to a therapist at one time. Like the two of us. We did, because I needed somebody to help me. I think I'm a really logical person, and I wasn't understanding why we were in this space and for so long, so it was very difficult because we're core members of their family. And so it affected us hanging out together. It affected dinners, Sunday dinners. It affected Easter dinner. Like it was tough. It was tough.
Yes, and what is interesting is this: you've been on the show now going on 6 years, and I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I always ask this question because I'm always curious if my theory is right. Because people always say, well, Carlos, reality TV ruined marriages. I'm like, no, it doesn't. If your marriage is strong, reality TV can sustain it because you don't allow the fanfare and the fodder to impact your household. Would you say that when it comes to being on this show, and one thing about Love and Marriage Huntsville, I have Bell Collective, DC, etc., etc. Love and Marriage Huntsville, the audience have very strong opinions
and connections. True, very true.
Girl.
Very true.
And if you're not careful, you can allow yourself to go down the rabbit hole of believing some things that may be presented to you.
100% accurate.
Right?
100%.
Okay. Do you think some of that also played into what what you and Tisha were going through? Was it, obviously there was some stuff in terms of happened on the show, but was the peanut gallery also part of it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And from various angles. It could have been, some inner circle friends. It could have been some producers. It could have been fans. It could. I'm just saying.
Listen. I tried to tell y'all. Kimmy's like, I love Carlos King, but I'm gonna always keep it real because that's who she is. Go. I asked her a question, and what she say? If you don't like my answer, then don't ask me. Go ahead, Kimberly.
I'm saying the answer is 100% yes. And there would literally be times when Tisha and I would talk, and I would say, that's not true. It's simply not true. Like, don't hear that. Like, don't hear that. I promise you. I remember one time Tisha actually texted me and asked me if I was talking about her on I don't know, I guess like a post or something. And I said, absolutely not. She said, well, somebody had told her, whatever. And I said, okay, screenshot it and send it to me. I said, that's for easy, right? That's easy. I would never do that. Like, why would I do that? And I sent her like these little sad tear cry faces. And I was like, I can't believe this is where we are, that you're literally questioning me about talking about you. But the chatter is real. Literally, the chatter is real. And that's what made my mind so confused, because I couldn't convince her that these people, like these ancillary people, I guess have a little bit more pull than me. I don't know. Like, I'm like, why are you listening to them? I promise. I couldn't get through. Like, I couldn't get through. I couldn't.
You can't get through. No, so I'm saying this to you. I'm saying this to you as somebody who's been doing this since 2008. You can't get through. So what happens is, I still go through this today, right? But let me go back to the historic nature of what happens on reality TV when the outside world impacts this bubble that you guys are in, essentially, because it's a bubble of of the show.
I agree.
It's hard for people to not go down the rabbit hole of reading the comments and having this feeling of confirmation. You know what I'm saying? You know how like you may think your friend trying to play you, and you could be wrong, or you could be right. But even if you have the spirit of thought, if these two people, it could be two folks, child. If these,
honey, that's all it takes.
Let's talk about it. It could be two people who corroborates your own theory. You would take that as a fact and move differently. I've seen people do it to each other. I've seen people do it to me. I've seen people try to pin me against y'all. Let's talk about it. I've seen people, girl, there was some post last week that somebody tagged me on one of my raindrops, because my raindrops be going off on these people, child. But somebody tagged me. It's whether somebody said Carlos hates Melody. He's a backstabber because he had Stormy on it and said Stormy was the future of the show. Then somebody, even let's talk about it. Even me going on Dish Nation. Carlos, who's your favorite? Martell, Melody, and then the whole world in the comments, and we having fun with it. And what's so funny is even at the reunion, not this last one, but the one before that, Destiny said, Carlos, who's your favorite? Maurice, Martell. So it's one of those things where we all laugh at it, but people would take something so small and try to create a story. And I know that when it comes to this show, people have strong opinions. And I'll always tell people, I say, please, whatever you do, I don't discount anyone's feelings. I may feel away, you may feel away. Just pick up the phone and talk about it. And my last story is Tisha called me a few weeks ago because I did a Happy Sunday post. You know, my Happy Sunday post about like, you know, she said, somebody said, you talk about Marcel. I said, Tisha. Now look, I love me some Marcel. I love Marcel. However, I'm not thinking about Marcel when I'm worshiping Jesus, child. Like, so I'm telling you,
but
Kimmi,
it's so true.
It's true.
You get in them comments and you be like, just don't do it. And you're right. All you need is one person. You could have 1,004 comments, and then 4 comments that say differently. You're gonna be like, And it's just, it's a toughie. It really is. That part is toughie. But we all know Mel your favorite, though. We do know that. We do know that.
Wait, your audio's breaking up. I want to hear this. Your audio's breaking up.
I said, ain't nobody hurt. Like, nobody's upset. It's a matter of accountability and just, you know, it just is what it is.
You're going to ride on that. That's your truth?
Oh, you know that's the truth. Stop that.
Listen, no, let me
stop that.
It's not.
Stop. I was happy Martell said it, and said it fast, too. He said it fast.
See, this funny. Your husband said it was Martell.
I think you have an affinity for the both of them because of what they have brought to you. So I how can you not? Quite frankly, I think there is an affinity there. I think, you know, as Scots, we be climbing our way up the totem pole. Like we be just. But we know that you love us. We do. I'm not saying that to say we don't feel the love. We 100%, we love your energy. Like when you show up on set, we love it. And you know we love when you say, I'm coming to town. We love that. So it's not a hate thing at all. Like on our end, maybe on some of the fans, the comments, but it's not a hate thing. It's not, we know we got to work hard to keep our position. We just got to work hard.
So for the record, listen, I'm being honest. And listen, but I also understand where it comes from. I really don't have a favorite. I will say this. Now, this may sound controversial, but I'm going to say it. when it comes to the six of y'all,
Mhm.
there is this. Well, let me go backwards. You're right in the sense of this deep adoration for Martell and Melody because I met them 5 years before I met you guys, and there is this deep adoration, especially because where they were. Well, I'm getting emotional. I better not cry. Carlos, you better not cry. Oh, this is weird. Okay.
Over me and Maurice and Marcel and Tisha, we can make you cry.
No, because y'all still together. That's my girl. Ugh. No, I'm crying because it's I just remember the day I met them and I fell in love with them as a unit. And the reason why I get emotional when I think about them is because who they were as a couple. And you guys were with them way more than I was. And you know that when they were a couple, it was just something. And I'm always saddened by where they are today. And that I get emotional because I'm always like, I miss that. Now, I'm not saying for them to get back together.
And people always think that's what you're saying just because you say I met them together. They be Kimmi, leave that alone. I'm like, bitch, I met them together. That don't mean I want them back together. Like, God, dog.
It's so weird. I want them to be happy because I agree with you. When you talked about Tisha, for example, you said, and I said this too about Tisha, who Tisha was before the show, she's not the same person now. And that's good because she's grown. I want Mel and Martell to be happy in terms of who they are today and whatever that means for them. So that's what I mean by that. I miss that because it was what I was introduced to. But anyways, that aside, when it comes to the six of y'all, I have this very deep affection for you guys because you guys did not ask for this. You guys worked hard to be where you are. I will always give y'all the credit for saying like, all right, let's just go there with it, right? And when you have a show you created that is number one, you can't help but have this very soft spot on your heart for these people. And that's why when it comes to y'all, it's funny because I don't have a favorite because all of y'all get on my nerves at one point in time. And I'm like, I ain't messing with you this week because I like this one more because this one gave me everything I needed and more. So that's what happens. But as a group, I will always say you guys are the blueprint. And you guys have changed my life.
And you ours.
Thank you. I didn't shed a tear. Thank you, Jesus. Lord Jesus, have mercy on my soul. Okay. And listen, look, the funny part is they're gonna take this and run with a negative story. You already know. They're gonna take this love fest and make so go ahead, guys. Call me a backstabber. Say I shaded somebody. Do what y'all do. I don't mind. It's all good. Just make sure you spell my name right. Okay. But going back to tonight's episode, what we also saw, speaking of the original six, is this meeting about Tisha and Marceau presenting a Black Expo.
Correct.
I love you in business meetings because you listen to everything. You make sure to let everyone speak first because you're a lawyer. You do this. You let everyone speak. You gather all the information and you have a log of questions in your memory bank to ask when it's time to ask the questions at the end of the meeting. Is that your process when you have these business meetings with this group?
Yes, because I've had lots of business meetings with this group. So you always want to try to be as prepared as possible in order to ask the questions so we can move forward. You know, part of why we would get stonewalled is because we didn't have the answers. And we'd be sitting there back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I think when you come to a meeting at the initiate with clarity, it helps everybody.
Do you think Marcel and Tisha pretty much took the idea and conceit of the comeback group and called it something else only because they knew that if they called it a comeback group, nobody would have shown up?
No, I think they called it something else because they're branding something else. I mean, I think they know us better than that by now. I think no matter what they called it, that we were going to show up. And we have a tendency to do so. Sometimes it takes a little more work. You know, when we very first show ever, me and Maurice were the ones that weren't in the comeback group. And so Mel had to call, like, come on, y'all. Will y'all get back in? Y'all. And it's so funny because everybody act like we just begging Mel to be in. She was and like, you know, so everybody has had their opportunity to ask somebody to get back in. You know what I mean? And so I think that at that moment, Tisha and Marceau were working on branding Black. I don't think it was about not wanting to call it a comeback thing, because I think they know where all of our hearts are. And I don't care what it's called. I think we would all be ready to participate.
Do you agree with the whole idea of sponsorship and getting paid to appear? Because that was one of the biggest moments in tonight's episode when Melody said, talent fees, do we have sponsorships? Do you agree that should be a road to take in this Black Expo?
I think the original concept in regards to not making money, then it's hard to have a conversation about paying people. However, when the conversation was moved into sponsorship, I think it should be entertained, absolutely. Because at that point, who are we making money for? Who's making the money? Where the money gonna go? You know what I'm saying? Like, once you start talking about making money, it changes a lot of things in conversation. Especially when you're asking a group of people to do this work for you. So yeah, money changes things.
And one thing that changes things is the fact that, you know, you're in this room, and obviously when you guys first started to even come up with this idea of working together, Mel and Martell was married. They're now divorced. They've gone their separate ways. Do you find it weird sometimes when you are in this setting that they're at the opposite end of the table and that they're not in the place in which you were accustomed to when you guys would have these business meetings?
No, because we've been going down this path for a while. And this is starting to become the new normal, you know, and just having, I'm gonna be honest, Abe, with you, because I am one, I probably out the group, I probably hold grudges the longest. Like I don't get over stuff very easily. And you know, so funny, I had this conversation with Stormy. She looked just like that. She was like, really? And no, I don't get her. And that's part of the reason, like, anytime Tisha get mad, I don't get mad, because like then she all right and then I'm still mad. You know what I'm saying? So no, my thing is I take my hat off to Mel for being able to sit in the room, quite frankly. I don't know if I could sit in the room with my baby daddy. I don't. My son is 24 and I still have issues with my baby daddy. So I kid you not. This is the new normal that we have to deal with, but I take my hat off because there's some rooms I probably wouldn't go in depending on, you know, who had to be on the show.
I never looked at it. Yes, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny because, like you said, when it comes to Jalen's father, you do really think about, like, what would my life be if I had to continue to be around this person
every day, like filming and playing nice and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, we're at a much better place in life because Jalen grown, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have to argue about what you're doing, what you're not doing. And, you know, we don't have to talk about that kind of thing. However, I was extremely sorry because my daddy took me to court. I didn't take him to court. He took me to court. So I was salty a long time. I was salty a very, very long time. So I absolutely take my hat off for her being able to be in a room, nevertheless, across the table, whatever. I think that takes a lot of chutzpah. I say that even about our baby, about Monster. I tell Maurice
Yes.
all the time that Monster has such a loving heart. Like, even when he's punished or we have to reprimand him for something, he doesn't hold grudges. Like, he can get in trouble and he be in the room, in the bed, watching movies at 6 o'clock. Like, what y'all doing? And I admire that because I don't have it. Like, I don't have it. And it's just an honest statement. I
I
don't
love
have it.
it.
I don't have it.
I love that. I'm gonna get you a medal. That's really deep. I'm really intrigued by that, and I'm such a producer. I'm like, there's some conversation surrounding that because I think I don't think people understand how challenging that is, and it's funny because me being honest, and one thing I love about this show, I did a panel the other day, and they asked me what have I learned from this show, and I said, what have I not learned? I said, I've learned how I'm not a parent now. I said, I have I have education on how to parent. I have
Mm-hmm.
education on marriage. I'm not married. I said, but what I've learned through this show is you go through these moments every couple of years to where you have to date your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because you met them this year doesn't mean 5 to 10 years later they're that same person. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to get to know them. And most importantly, marriage is all about compromise. How
Mm-hmm.
you have to sometimes bite your tongue,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
100%.
sometimes take that L on the chin, like,
Mm-hmm.
and not go to bed angry, and to make sure that you sit and have these conversations. And one thing about you and Maurice that I love the most is, and even Tisha compliment to you on this, is you really have allowed yourself to be seen and heard in your marriage,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you are married to a man who is very traditional. And I think a lot of people don't know that Maurice is traditional.
Very.
He is. But the one thing you have done is you have expressed your compromise. Like, okay, I can do that, but I ain't doing this. And I learned so much from you all, especially when it comes to that. So
But
not
let me
to
say this, Carlos, though, for real. Let me add this. In conjunction with that is communication. Because while we were dating, I remember sitting in my car, coming to the crossroads on my way home one day, and we were talking. And Maurice said, well, yeah, a relationship with us probably wouldn't work. And I said, why would you say that? He did. He said, I said, why would you say that? And he said, because I can see now that, like, you wouldn't let me be the leader. You wouldn't let me be the man of the house. Like, you like that role. And I said, huh? And so he talked about gender roles. And I said, so that's where you're mistaken. I said, I want a leader. I want the king of my castle. I want that person. I just need that person to be that person, not just say it, not just say it because you're supposed to be it. Lead. You know what I'm saying? If you want to lead, lead, not just because you're the man with the penis. You have to lead, is what I'm saying. I said, I've always wanted that. I said, but I always ended up in these relationships where they're not making very good decisions. And so you have to show your spouse that they are confident in the right person making the decisions. So once they're comfortable in that, I think that's where women go. I men and women pants, and I don't. That's not what I wanted for myself. I wanted to be successful and professional in my own right and be received for that. However, in this day and age where everybody going to work, then we can have a conversation about how those duties look. I didn't mind taking on a lot of that and going to work. And so they used to tease me and Maurice all the time because I went to work all day. I still did the laundry, I cleaned the house, I cooked, I did everything, and I still went to work. I wanted a leader. I wanted a leader. I just wanted us to, boss up together. Like, I
Mm.
wanted us to boss up together. You can lead. I would be like, 60-40, I don't care. But but he did. He told me we probably wouldn't make it because I wouldn't be accepting of a leader. And I was like, no, I want a leader, but my leader has to lead.
And I also think what people don't understand is when you're a single mom, you have, and listen, obviously your Jalen's dad is still around, but at the end of the day, you are pretty much the primary parent because as a mom, the child is with you the majority of the time, right? And you sometimes have to step into that role as well. And I think people don't understand that. And one thing, again, talking about learning about marriages, I want to ask you this because you brought up something very interesting about gender roles. Do you feel like because a woman may be an alpha female, and when I say an alpha female, what I consider that to be is somebody who is strong, a leader, aggressive in her approach of success, and is able to handle not all but the majority of things in life. Do you think that when it comes to alpha females, what is the one advice you would give them in terms of a relationship? Because I do have female friends in this business, and I say this to them. I say, you have to let a man lead. I said, I can just tell you the likelihood of you meeting a man that you can run over is going to be slim, because I think if you are a successful woman who wants a successful man, 9.5 times out of 10, that successful man is a leader, and he wants to make sure that he's not competing with you in terms of those duties. What advice would you give women who may be struggling with that? Because we see that you and Maurice, you're in a happy marriage. No marriage is perfect, and we see in the struggles y'all go through.
Right.
But what advice would you give those women who may be working through that?
I think some of what you said is actually correct in the fact that you have to let a leader lead. And to be honest, sometimes you let them think they lead, even if they ain't leading. You just sometimes I'm playing. Y'all think I'm playing, and I'm not. I'm not, and it ain't no secret. I'm not telling no deep, dark secret. Women know. Women know. Sometimes you done made the phone calls, you made the reservation. Babe, did you make some reservations for the? Oh, and you let him think that like he just pulled it all together. And I'm saying that does wonders for the soul and for the relationship. It just does. And in my personal experience, I feel like when leaders lead, it softens alpha women to want to be that partner that they're actually looking for. It really does. Who wants to be hard and brash forever? Me and Reese, we bumped heads. We absolutely bumped heads when we first met. And I think some women feel like if you dim your light, then, I've got to take a backseat to my husband. And I don't think my light is dim. I don't think I have a dim light. However, I have had to make some changes in my communication skills with my babe, in the way I handle my babe, the way I touch my babe, the way I choose to have certain conversations with my babe, because I want him to have the full confidence that he's the leader in this group. I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to be the leader. I want to rest in your arms. That's what I want to do. And I want us to be great together. And he'll tell you, I promise, early in our relationship, when he was building up, Credit One and getting the buildings, and I would kind of help do some of the back work, he would call me. He would go, Kimmi, guess what I thought of? Da, da, da. He would tell me some new idea. And I'll go, oh, that's nice. That's nice. And later on, maybe after a year or two, I told him, I said, you know how many times you called me about an idea or something? I wanted him to say to me, babe, this is what we can do together. Like, I wanted that more than anything. More than anything. I wanted one of them phone calls to be like, okay, look, I bet you if we did this together, we could do so-and-so. And he was like, really? It was just what I wanted us to be big together. That's what I had always wanted. I've always wanted that from the time I met Maurice. Because I thought his wheels, his creativity, his mindset in business was great. He just sometimes had problems putting it all together. So once you got the idea and then you got the together, that's like a win-win. It's like a win-win. So I don't feel like my light has dimmed. I don't feel like I have to dim my light for him to be a leader. But I feel like you have to soften your edges and let a leader lead. I just do.
Yes, I agree. And it also works for same-sex relationships because I have an African who is a leader, and I'm clearly one too. And it's everything you said. And before I let you go, I'm gonna tell you the story. I'm not gonna say her name, but she's a very, 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 very famous reality star on another show on another network. She is married. She was accustomed to, unfortunately, having to like do things on her own because I got to make all this money. She said one thing she does that her husband doesn't know that you just mentioned is she pretends that she needs help doing the most mundane stuff that she can do on her own. But because she also makes a lot of money, and because, for all intents and purposes, on paper, she's good in the hood, she never wanted her man to feel like, I don't need you. So
100%.
she says there'll be that reservation story. She told me that story. She told me a story on like something's broken, knowing good where she can do it. She'd be like, babe, can you work on this? And he'd be like, yes. She said one day she was on her phone and she needed to book something. And she was like, Carlos, I know how to book my own stuff. She's like, babe, I'm trying to book this. How do I navigate through this? He said, babe, let me do it for you. She said, okay, babe, thank you. And she said, well, women don't understand.
Yep.
It's something that small because, and this is going to be controversial, and y'all can read me on this. I'm fine with y'all reading me on this because it's a good conversation. She said that every man wants to feel wanted. And if you don't make your man feel like you need him, he's going to feel like, why am I with you? I want to feel needed. I want to feel like I can do something for you. You got your own money. You got all these degrees. You know how to drive. You know how to pay the bills, but is there anything else you need from me? And she says she purposely creates things for him to do so she can sit back, love up on him when she says thank you.
But Carlos, that's learned. That's learned because I didn't have that either. Like I had my own when I met Maurice. And to be honest, I thought that would be a turn on for him. Like, I don't need you to pay no bills. I am slick on the bills. I don't need you to raise my son. I want to have fun. Let's go have some fun. I literally thought that would be a turn on, but it's not. They want to feel needed. They want to serve and protect. They want to provide. They want to do that. And so it's a learned thing because I was like, I'm sick because I don't need you to buy my purse. I can buy my own purse. You know what I'm saying? So it's a learned thing. It really is. But the quicker you learn it, I'm telling you, the quicker you learn it, it will work. You'll thank me later. You'll thank me later.
Yes. Well, I'll thank you now. I can literally talk to you all day. I love when you and I talk. And it's funny because, like you said, people don't know, like, you don't bother me at all. There's moments you like Lowe's or you'll send me a text. And it's funny because I would watch Cuss and send her a text like, girl, I'm watching this episode and you are giving me my life right now. You are hilarious. And she'd be like, what I do? I'm like, you'll see later, child. But it's always a good time when we're together. You already know this. I love you. I adore you. You're very special to me. And you motivate me because I'll be telling my team, like, I don't need Kimmi to read my season, so y'all better step this, because Kimmi would be like, I don't know,
Love. Where are we going with this?
Right, what? How about this gonna be?
I also call you back and I'll be like, all right, I was wrong. It was good. It was good. I was wrong. Take it back. I own my shit. Like, it was wrong.
No. But I love that because it inspires me. So I thank you for this. And what I want you to do, I can't wait for you to watch Bell Collective because you're going watch the first episode and then let's talk or text or whatever, because I want you to see the first episode. I want to know if I'm on the right path.
You're so funny. I got you. I got you.
All right, Kimmi, let the world know where they can support you because speaking of doing business together, you and Maurice now have a business together. So talk to the world about that, plus where they can find you, follow you, all those good stuff.
So it's the title company, and in all fairness, we're working with Tiffany Haas in the Haas Law Firm in Atlanta. And she's actually kind of mentoring us through this particular process of getting up and going with the title company. So it is United Legal Team that we would love to do closings for you in Alabama. So come on, send us some stuff. Also, his regular United Legal Team, he's a consumer law lawyer. And we have Scott Imperium Property Solutions because I got my brokerage license before I went through all of this. We just haven't had time to blossom it. So make sure you kind of look for all of our landing pages and websites and all that kind of stuff around. You can always find me, Kimmi, Kimmi, no E, _ KLS on Twitter and on Instagram. And then I'm Kimmi Scott on Facebook.
Yes, and please stay tuned for the rest of this season because
don't even do it. Don't do it. Don't do
it. There's some very, great moments with Kimmi. That's all I'll say. Anyways, I'm not gonna spoil it, but stay tuned for the rest of the season. Cash, Love, and Marriage Huntsville every Saturday, 8 o'clock, 7 Central on the
Correct.
Oprah Winfrey Network. And after that, you can watch it on the OWN app or on demand from Saturday through Tuesday to catch the latest episode. So, Kimmi, I love
YouTube too. Y'all gotta go to YouTube. I'm the Kim Zone. YouTube has been there for years. Let's go ahead over there and be all the same stuff. Yes, don't even play me. It's the Kim Zone. We've been the Kim Zone. We ain't had to come up with new names or nothing.
Yes, and always a special shout out to all of the Facebook group fan pages. Yes. Y'all are messy. We love it anyway. Because we're messy too. So we love you all, and we will see y'all next week. Bye. Bye-bye.